So if you're joining us on catch up, welcome as well, and welcome to our attendees today. We've got a really great group of people here to talk today, and thank you very much to our fantastic speakers. We are delighted to have you in one of our Let's Go Zero webinars. So my name's Alex. I work for Ashton. We lead on Let's Go Zero. It's the campaign for all schools to be zero carbon by 2030. We've now got over 1,300 schools that are signed up to the campaign, so really exciting and really growing. But one of the things that we love to do in the campaign is to share what everyone's doing, to share what our schools are doing, what all the schools across the UK are doing, so that you can all learn from each other. So this is one of our webinar series to be able to do that. So quick round of introductions. I'll just say who we've got today. We've got Anna here from Wellington College. Give us a wave, Anna. We've got John here from St Vincent School, and we've got Francis here from Eco Schools. So brilliant. They will all be talking later, and I'll tell you a bit more about them before they start speaking. But we're really pleased that they're here, and to talk about engaging with students, to talk about how you can really embrace and make the most of this wonderful asset that you are a school. You're a school and a college and a nursery, and that you are there to be able to really enrich the lives of young people. And that's what's really brilliant about working in education. So this isn't just about buildings and reducing our carbon in our estates. Actually, this is so enriching for our young people. So they're here to tell us a bit more about what they've done, or what you could do, how we can learn from the work that they've done with their students, and then how we can learn from Eco Schools and all the wonderful learning they've had over the many years that they've been working with schools. So there's an opportunity after Anna and John have spoken to ask them lots and lots of questions. Any questions that you have at that point, or anyway through the webinar, just put them either into the chat or into the Q&A. We don't mind, we'll read the questions out. So there's a point after the two of them have spoken where we can quiz them, you can ask them any questions about their work they're doing. And then Francis is going to speak, and there'll be another opportunity after he's spoken to ask him any questions, or to ask John and Anna more questions, or to ask questions about Let's Go Zero or the campaign. So ask questions as you go. It is brilliant to have you here, and welcome to those who are watching on recording as well. So without any more delays, we will go straight into Anna. And Anna's here today from Wellington College. She is the head of sustainability at the college, and she coordinates their global education. She's also, how on earth she has time as well, she's also a tutor for third form students. She's originally from Mexico and has supported the Mexican government to do all kinds of wonderful and exciting things to do with climate change. So she's not just here, with a Wellington College perspective, she's got a whole global perspective as well. And she works with the school's eco network as a lead for her region as well. So really pleased to have Anna here, and I will pass the mic over to Anna to tell us more about what you've been doing.
Thank you very much, Alex, for this presentation, and very happy to be part of this panel and these opportunities to exchange ideas with everyone. So I have prepared a brief presentation just to show you the journey that we have following Wellington College and how we have ended up empowering our youth around the field, educating them, but not also educating them, but also meeting them in like the idea of being collaborators in all this process. So for us, it's not teacher-student, really is really collaborators across this journey. If we go to the next one, please. So basically here, I want to show you which is our mission and our vision, and precisely the model that we have followed. This model was precisely based on the idea that we want to bring together gender equality, working together, the collaboration, being part of this collaboration team internationally, but also with the perspective of being local. And this shim represents precisely what the action is, the learning and the sharing, the innovation, and how we empower students from being part of all this process. When we are talking about this whole idea, is not necessarily just thinking that we have a mission, just to say we are ticking the box, but really applying it in the process of the whole college and how we visualize sustainability as a core part of that goes across the whole school. So if we go to the next one, please. So when we started this journey, really, there was nothing really existent apart from a very small eco-society that was developing some projects with having some like a small farm, but very few engagement, very few students being part of that process. So when I started to look at this window of opportunity was back in 2016. And the first phase of this whole process started doing or implementing a whole school approach to see where we're standing, in the aspect of environment, sustainability, or whatever you want to name it in that framework. And then from there, from that exercise that was precisely taking in consideration different areas of the school, the mission, vision, the general aim, and our sustainability policy was created. And that was approved in 2019. Then I was appointed as head of sustainability. Then something very important that helped me really to start to look into the minds of young people and what they wanted and studying. They wanted to study and learn was establishing the Young Change Makers program that we know it as sustainability program in Wellington. And I created this together with in partnership with SEED, the Sustainability and Environmental Education Organization. And we became a pilot school for this program. And we were presenting our results back in COP25 the previous year, not 2020. And it was a good experience, honestly, to have all this process. And our program is compulsory, is part of an umbrella activity that is provided under global citizenship. So students attend this program compulsory every Wednesday for 2 hours. And we have a very core area that is precisely learning from each other and what's the concept of sustainability and so on. Lots of experiential learning, lots of action learning, lots of thinking around system thinking, and precisely developing different competencies and skills around this. If we go to the next one, please. So these are our competencies, and these are the ground of this program that I can say it was the heart to develop all this process. So learning to do, learning to be, learning to know, and learning to be together. So it's what we promote in this program, and is the main basis that drives the whole engagement that the students have at the moment of interacting with different topics related to sustainability. Can we go to the next one, please? So the second phase was precisely empowering peoples. Many students in Wellington College knew about what was the environment, but they always thought that sustainability, for example, was just the environment. It was not really the link in between society and economy. So when we started to give them the tools to learn about that, it was a way for them to say, I know more, I feel more empowered, I feel that I can now really, through an informed perspective, take an action and be an agent of change to implement different initiatives around my school, with my city, my village, internationally. So it became really, this phase was the most important and most intense one. So internally, we created a student environmental society that was really focusing in informing and bringing keynote speakers and just sharing expertise with experts in different fields that students wanted to learn on. They were always saying, I want to learn more about energy. So then they were looking for an expert in that field and giving a talk. Then we created a student sustainability committee that is a more active side. They have hands-on on projects they want to implement. They are communicating continuously with decision makers. to make change in the school. But not only that, they have been really active outside in different boards and in different groups and so on. Then we created a sustainability prefect diagram. So we have like 17 different prefects in different boarding houses. So they have an active role as well. And then we have a dedicated day for sustainability in which the whole school take part, and the leaders precisely are these students. So we have developed local, national, and international networking partnerships. And I believe that has been essential for our transition in how students feel empowered and acknowledged about their ideas. And it has been essential for them to have the ground to exchange ideas, to talk the same language, to try to achieve what's going on in your school. How are you tackling this problem? How do you have that problem? Oh, that's amazing. How do you do? Let's collaborate and so on. That has been essential. So we have been collaborating, and I'm naming just some of them here to say that, for example, the UKSSN has been very important, the BSEN, sorry for the acronyms, but is the school psycho networks that we have been working in sustainability and in environmental activities or social activities as well. YONGO is the group of interest that observes the negotiations on climate change on the convention and the UN. So they have been interacting with them. They have been very active on the topic of action for climate empowerment. So it has been very important for them to be part of those processes. And I would really encourage anyone that is doing this process to really open those grounds for students to be part. And then it has been the part of staff. Very good communication with the operation Bursa, with the estate Bursa, with all these parts that are the hidden areas of the school, because then it is for them, if you have their support, then it's easier to move those initiatives that the students may have forward. So what we did was integrating different areas like under a sustainable vision and looking how we can work towards precisely becoming net zero by 2030. And all our initiatives, it was when we decided to join net zero as a, let's go zero, sorry, 2030, because we really want to work towards that. So we integrated our global education program to have that perspective. We align with the competencies, for example, that the Department of Global Citizenship has, the leadership department as well, among others. And to achieve even more, we develop a mechanical, electrical, and public health audit to see where we were standing. We made improvements in our waste management, and the students have been part of all this. It has not been only me or staff driving this. Can we go to the next one, please? So the third phase that we are at the moment is we are mapping the curriculum to see how much we are providing in the learning curve of sustainability and climate education. We have developed a SDG framework report that is precisely identifying the SDGs that the school wants to work on, and that's going to be our basis to develop further actions. And the leads are students in each one that is precisely identified. They are driving an action plan that they will launch in September, where they are going to precisely set the fundamentals to say this is sustainability for Wellington and this is what we want to create for the next 10 years. We have been motivating a lot green careers and internships in this area for them to have the experience to understand what it means, for example, being an agricultor, working with different organizations to promote ethical and organic crops, for example, or green doctors or other kind of careers that they have interest on. And we have been trying to develop very much the teacher CPD training on sustainability, because it's important for us as a school as well to be prepared in that way, and not just to think that teachers by fact they will know what we expect them to deliver on sustainability. The next one, please. So these are some of the outcomes that we have been having. We have been decreasing our food waste steadily. That was a massive problem for us, driven by students. by students precisely, they claim to change our minibus fleet to electric. We have been having now different cars that are electric around, so we didn't have any charging points. That was a request from them. We are aiming to become an ISO 14000. I'm missing one set earlier. To just have a framework of work and reporting yearly. We have been changing our procurement providers. We have been having different sustainability projects with different schools around the world. Parmel Trinity School in the States has been an essential one to have that communication between students and projects. For the first time, and I am going to promote this, there is going to be a sustainability strand in the Festival of Education that yearly gathers more than 10,000 teachers from nationally and internationally, and that is organized by Wellington College. So we are having that for the first time. And we have student engagement, ownership, and leadership roles that are very well established. Next one, please, and final. We have based lots of these in these arguments. Is precisely why is it important? Why are we doing this? And it's precisely saying the education side and giving these skills and competencies to students for them to gain this ownership. And something that we precisely believe strongly in is precisely this phrase that says, tell me and I forget, teach me and I might remember, involve me and I learn. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. That is amazing and so great to hear all the different things that you're doing. And wow, you just so much going on at the college that is just, it's brilliant to see how you're linking all the different aspects in, as well as engaging with the students. That's fantastic. We've had a few questions come in, so we'll hold them for a bit and we'll go over to now to speak to John. So let's find, there's a slide for John. And so John, tell us about the wonderful thing. So John, I'm going to tell you a bit about John first, actually, before I hand you over to him. So he is the head teacher at St Vincent's School, a specialist school for sensory impairment and other needs. He is a whirlwind of energy. No pressure now, John, as I pass over to you. We were really fortunate that John brought some of his students up to COP26 in Glasgow to take part in some of the events we were running. And it's such an amazing thing to see the different things that are going on with the students at John's school. And I've learned from doing a bit of looking up Googling John before so I could introduce him, that he used to be an engineer before he became a teacher. So I'm going to pass you over to John now. He's going to tell you about all the wonderful things they do at St Vincent's.
Thank you very much indeed. And, thank you, Alex and Let's Go Zero, for including our children at COP26. That was really something very special to open up that door to inclusion. So, St Vincent's is a school for visually and hearing impaired children and children with disabilities, but our primary focus is children with visual and hearing impairments. And that's what we mean by a school for specialist needs. Firstly, I really encourage you, well done for being here on this webinar, or well done for following up later, because you're taking that action to find out information about what you can do for climate action, what you can do to get us to net zero. And you've come to the right place with Let's Go Zero as an organisation that is sharing best practice, and that's quite beautiful. So well done for being here to find out what you can do. I am hoping you've all had experience with keys. I am sure we've all been in that position where, thank you God, the key has actually fitted that big bunch and the one I've got through the door, thank goodness I'm in, out the rain. Or you might have been in that position where you can't get in, you've got the wrong key. What I'd like to talk about is a key. I'm trying to get that in front of there. A key that you can use right now that can start to help you do what you really want for climate action, for biodiversity, and for Let's Go Zero from where you are. You're in school, and the key is the curriculum. What can you do to shape the curriculum that you undertake day to day? How can you change that? How can you make it something different? I'm sure you've heard lots of times as you know, the next generations. You're the shakers and rattlers of the future who are going to do stuff. You're going to make the changes. And let's be those changes now with the curriculum that can empower people. But I'd invite you to get involved with the curriculum for visually impaired, the curricula, sorry, for SEN, for climate action. I'm going to give a little bit of information on what I mean by that. There is a brand new curriculum for the visually impaired, only just launched last month, and we helped to construct that. There's a brand new guidelines for physical education, and those guidelines for physical education, again, we consulted and helped construct that, co-construct that with the Chief Medical Officer. And as you will all know, there is a new climate action curriculum that's being looked at right now. These are the areas that I would encourage you to get involved in, because there are cross-cutting themes that go through those curricula in this way. Citizenship, health and well-being. You will see these words turning up all the time. Citizenship, health and well-being. If it's not called citizenship in your school, it'll be called something else. PSHE, PSHEE. Whatever it is, it's that space where you can look at what's happening in your community and how your community works with other school communities and how school communities work with regional, national, local, global initiatives. And Let's Go Zero are really spearheading those opportunities to collaborate. Excuse me. So what are you going to do? Have a look at the curriculum in your school. Have a look at citizenship. Have a look at the new climate action curriculum and start to think about, oh, I wonder if I could do something with a local school. I would encourage you to look at schools in your locality which are SEN, special educational needs. Certainly, if you're interested in doing this, we can give you guidance and connect you with schools that are like us, that are really focused on special educational needs. But there is a real need for inclusion. There's a real need to include the ideas of other children and include disabilities who see things, quite literally, different. If you look at all the research, visually impaired young people globally are perceived as the biggest untapped workforce on the planet, full of ideas, full of innovation, full of creativity, but not being given the opportunities. Can your school, can you start a movement to work with a local school with children who have disabilities and do something unique? A key across curricula is creativity, innovation, and it's this area that we need those sparks of innovation to make the changes for climate action, for make the changes for Let's Go Zero, but also to design the new ideas for where there's employment. That's where the curriculum can really work powerfully. And that's where you can encourage others to get involved with innovation and climate action through the curriculum. So what on earth could that look like? We've come up with a project from St. Vincent's. We've been sharing it. It's called The Little Free Greenhouse. If you look, hashtag capital H, the little capital L, free capital F, greenhouse, capital G, the Little Free Greenhouse. We've shared the story. It is one idea that you may want to replicate. It is one idea of many that Let's Go Zero are sharing. This one is particularly to include schools with other schools that have disabilities. The Little Free Greenhouse is a little greenhouse that we've made. It's tiny, and the plants and the produce that our children grow in our school, we put in the Little Free Greenhouse and ask people to take it away for free. And people are. But what we're doing is we're measuring how many of the plants are taken, how many of the seeds of hope that we shared with Let's Go Zero at COP26. We handed out packets of free wildflower seeds. If anybody wants some, get in touch with St. Vincent's and we'll gift you some. We're measuring how many plants and how many seeds are taken. And we're working out the impact that that's having on the environment. How many bees does it support? I think we're on to 2.5 football pitches of wildflower meadows are being gifted. It's a very simple idea, very, very easily replicated, that you might want to take that up. I've just seen Ikea. Maybe Ikea could work with you, work with us, with Let's Go Zero, to actually plan a little free greenhouse and make them to be handed out at Ikea. Who knows? That's the type of creative innovation that sparks when you work with other people. Look at the curriculum, look at citizenship, look at inclusion, look at those new curricula, the climate action curricula and citizenship, and then look at the little free greenhouse concept as one idea, where this space with Let's Go Zero is the best place possible to share with schools the ideas that work and can work and be adapted in different communities. You want to know more about the little free greenhouse? It's on Twitter at St. Vincent's L12. You can follow the whole story at the Little Free Greenhouse, and you can work with us to follow it all the way to the Tatton Flower Show, where we've got a school garden project where we're going to share all of the data of what this simple idea can deliver on. If you want those seeds, get in touch with us. And if you like innovation, yes, I used to be an engineer. If you've got some ideas, I'm very, very happy to look at those ideas with you and see how we can make things and put you in touch with the right people for engineering. Thank you for listening. My email is there should anybody wish.
Thank you very much, John. That is, as ever, really fascinating and brilliant. So I'm going to ask John and Anna to sort of come back on stage in with your cameras on, and we've got a few questions that have come in. But actually, it's interesting. I will just answer a question that came from John about Ikea. So Ikea are the main funder of the Let's Go Zero campaign, and they are, so a little bit of sort of sneak preview, they're about to launch in June. They're going to have a competition for schools where schools can apply to have a project done in their school on their site. Last few details are being done now. Everything's being thought through, final things, but we think the 6th of June the competition will be launched, so that will be available on the Let's Go Zero website and through the Ikea website. So sort of watch this space. There's something exciting coming where schools can have a really nice project done for them. So the first question that's come through on the chat is, I'm going to send give this one to Anna. Is what has surprised you most about working with the students? What was the thing that you were really surprised that they embraced?
Yeah, thank you. Well, something that it's always impressive in them is the resilience they can have. And it's just really giving the tools and the elements for them to know how to drive it and stand up again to propose new ways of achieving. So some ideas I didn't have a way through, they have come with really, really, really good steps forward to just drive change. And they are very brave. They are very brave, and that's impressive, because in an environment that we're probably they can be overprotected, or where everything is quite ready for them, is something that you wouldn't expect sometimes. But I think it's something that we have to acknowledge, and especially when they are seen as collaborators. Again, I think that's an element that is extremely important, that they feel included in the process. As with that last phrase that I read, is involving them, the key element for them to build that resilience, and how all that resilience and creativity can develop amazing stuff together. Now they are driving the agenda. I'm just a facilitator, and I love to see that.
Thank you, that's great. And while you've been explaining that, John's been adding in some of the links and things into the chat there. So if you're watching this on the recording, all those links sit below the video on the recording, so you'll probably be able to see. If I point like that, you might be able to see it on your computer screen. So thank you very much, John. The next question is, and this one, I'm going to go this one to John, was what was the most popular initiative that you've done with the students?
The most popular, oh, wow. The most popular is the engagement with the Polytunnel, because the Polytunnel, we really went to everywhere we possibly could to find the best type of activities for the Polytunnel in the first place. But then we adapted it for visually impaired young people. Very, very simple things. I mean, how do you plant a seed in a pot if you can't see where the seed is, and you can't see where the pot is? So we've done lots of adaptations in that Polytunnel, which are unique, that enable all children with who are totally blind or have some visual impairment, depending on how sunny it is or not. They have different visual needs. So everybody's included. So the Polytunnel, yes, the outcomes we've seen over several years, what happens at the end of where our plants go and the joy of eating your own vegetables, etc., that's great. But it's the way all children have been included in that now. Because of that, we've brought in children who are sighted to this school. It's called reverse inclusion. So instead of our children going somewhere else where they're always at a disadvantage because they can't see very well, they were leading on how to grow seeds. They were showing sighted children what to do. That's game changing. That's very powerful. And the confidence it raises in young people because of the inclusion, the confidence it rises in them to be involved in things that you wouldn't necessarily think that they could do. People think they may not be able to do this. Yes, they can. So the Polytunnel, without doubt, as a centre of inclusion and participating in climate action, is the best.
Thank you. And I always love when there's a polytunnel in a school. It's just such a great way to engage with learning about sort of planting and how things are grown and where all our food comes from. And I think what you were saying about that reverse mentoring, that's something we see so much when younger people are supporting us older people to change our ways. Actually, there's a whole load of reverse mentoring that not just within sort of between young people, but actually for our younger people are such an inspiration, aren't they?
Amen to that. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And so the next question, a question for you, Anna, that's come through is, how can somebody find out more and join the Eco Network?
Yes, well, it will be fantastic. Precisely after this meeting, we are going to have an introductory meeting to inform schools about the Berkshire Schools Eco Network. So you can drop me an email and I will be very happy to share with you the link. Everybody has access to this informative meeting because it's just an introduction precisely to explain how we work, our success previously with different schools, how it's going to be shaped, and you can be part of that. This is a platform for students, that's important to mention, in which we teachers become yes, the facilitators of that process, but this is to have a strong voice for young people that they want to have an active life in the public space of our country, in different initiatives that they can create, from schools to the decision making in how the UK are running their activities related to sustainability, climate change, and so on. So you can drop me an email to axr@wellingtoncollege.org.uk. I can type it in the chat and I will be more than happy to share the information. And if you can join us today, it will be great. Otherwise, I'm happy to share the recording of that meeting with interested people that may contact me. Thank you.
Brilliant. And we'll put the link to the network underneath the video for those watching on the recording as well. So that's perfect. So the last question now, before we go over to Francis to hear more about what Eco Schools is doing, is about, we hear a lot now about having a sustainability lead and about who that might be within a school, and how do you balance within your schools? I'm going to ask John and then I'm going to come to Anna. How do you balance within your schools that the task of not just looking at the site, your estate, your buildings, but also engaging with young people and linking it into the teaching. How do you get that balance if you feel that you do? So first going to John for that question.
Okay, what we have done with our school curriculum is effectively take everybody off the national curriculum on a Wednesday. Now, I'm fortunate as an independent school. Yes, we do the national curriculum, we do plenty of that, but the Wednesday is all about the children taking lessons that they particularly are really interested in. It's called enrichment. We called it enrichment, and our consultancy on the new VI curriculum, that word is being used in the document, enrichment. So Wednesdays, all children that are really interested in the climate, because we embed the United Nations sustainability goals across all lessons, they really pick up activities that they're interested in, have strengths in, or want to find out more about. And a lot of that is in the ground. So we're fortunate, we're growing trees, we're growing vegetables, we've got the Polytunnel, we've got the little free greenhouse, we're bringing up, we're taking up flagstones and repairing them with trees. We're doing immense amounts of projects in the ground. So the children are really interested in that. Now, once they're doing projects in the grounds that are about health and well-being, they're about climate action, they're about Let's Go Zero, it comes into school. So the teachers, it makes it easy to link other lessons into the enrichment, not the other way around. So because the whole school is embedded with climate action, you know, what we're doing about recycling in the kitchens, what are we doing about it, naturally flows into other lessons. So in your English, if you're doing verbs, it makes it much more fun if you're doing green activity shaped verbs, stroke nouns. If you're doing maths, it's much more fun to be talking about learning about fractions if you're working about how much of the earth actually needs to be green. Do you see where I'm going? All staff are involved in it because the children's interest that has been sparked from their love of nature is taken into other lessons, so it becomes seamless and participatory for everybody. So that's how we balance it. But it would be great, you know, if every school had funded specific officer. That would be pretty cool, and I'd encourage the government to do that. Let's see what happens. Hey, let's see.
So there is definitely a need now for a sustainability lead because of the new Department for Education's sustainability and climate change strategy. It's in there, and there are some discussions about how that might be funded and how that might come together. So yeah, it's a really exciting time to have a sustainability lead. So Anna, how do you do it at your school?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I must say that I have been very lucky. In my case, I'm not a teacher. I'm an educator that works in the co-curricular side of the school, and that has given me the opportunity to have and design this learning program that has been shaped in the sense of allowing the students to explore this area within the idea that we are in a system, and it goes much more to the point of them learning to fail and then stand up again and say, it's okay, we will find other ways for your initiative to go forward. It has been challenging as well. When you are not a teacher, the touch precisely with the students can be different, and it cannot be probably something as fruitful as when you are in a classroom. But those challenges are very good because you learn new strategies in how to approach students and precisely engage them. So in my case, it has been a role and a profile very well established. So I'm focused completely in this. My priority number one is always working with students, independently of all the other projects I may have. That's my priority number one. And there's many projects in behind, and I have as well the global education side that is quite time demanding. There is also I'm a tutor in a boarding house, so I have duties of safeguarding. So it has been quite interesting the way my role has been shaped. But used to have a person allocated for this role, I believe is essential, and I believe if it's successful for the strategy to implement that as a rule for all the schools, we will be hopefully in coming years talking about a different shape for education in the field for the future.
That's, yeah, really wise words there from you, Anna, definitely. So we're going to move over to Francis now, who's going to speak to us about Eco Schools. So Francis has been at Eco Schools for 4 years, but before that he was a primary school teacher working in Stage 2. He's going to talk about give us an overview of the Eco Schools programme and share some stats from over the year. And also just give us some advice about pupil-led actions. So really delighted to have you here today, Francis. So over to you.
Thank you, Alex. So as mentioned, I'm Francis, and I do have the absolute privilege of working for Eco Schools England. It really is a dream job, because every day I sort of read about the fantastic things young people around our country are doing. If we could go to the next slide, please. Alex, to give you a little bit of background on Eco Schools, in England we're operated by the environmental charity Keep Britain Tidy, and we have been since the programme began in 1994. And Keep Britain Tidy do lots of other wonderful things. So I was on a call with another team member earlier today who's transforming fishing nets into school benches down in Cornwall, which I just thought was absolutely amazing, really. I should say obsolete fishing nets, like discarded fishing nets, not brand new ones. Eco Schools is a global programme, and it operates in 70 countries around the world from our headquarters in Copenhagen. If you go to the Eco Schools website, you can register for free in a matter of moments. And once registered, you can download plenty of resources that will help you embed pupil-led environmentalism into your school. You can also access our New Schools portal when you register with us, and that will help you keep track of your environmental work in school. When a school, college or nursery has worked for the Eco Schools programme, they can then apply for our Eco Schools Green Flag, which essentially just recognises and rewards the hard work of school staff and pupils. And should you choose to apply for an Eco Schools Green Flag, the cost is £200 plus VAT, which essentially ensures that the programme continues to operate in England. And if we could have the next slide, please, Alex. The Eco Schools programme is essentially a very simple and flexible 7-step framework that schools work through over the course of an academic year. It's been designed to make environmental action manageable, inclusive and rewarding for schools. And it begins with the formation of an Eco Committee, which is almost like a green school council, essentially. The Eco Committee then complete our environmental review, which we provide, and this asks questions about their school's environmental performance. But really, the main purpose of this step is to provide plenty of inspiration to young people for future projects they might complete. When they've done their environmental review, when a school has completed their environmental review, then they decide on an action plan, and they choose from 3 of the 10 Eco Schools topics to work on. The 10 Eco Schools topics are designed to break large global issues like climate change into more guided and manageable themes. Next, schools ensure that they incorporate environmental issues into their curriculum, and the Eco Committee makes sure their schoolmates and wider school community are involved in their projects and kept up to date with their progress. Step 6 is monitoring and evaluation, and that involves checking that the projects in an Eco Committee's action plan are succeeding, and if they are successful, perhaps thinking about where they can go next, so expanding on those projects as well. And then the final step is when the Eco Committee decide on an Eco Code for the school. This should reflect the values and ethos they have built throughout their Eco Schools work and throughout the process. The most important aspect of the Eco Schools programme is undoubtedly its pupil-led nature. And this allows young people to tackle the eco issues that they feel really passionate about. It raises awareness and it develops new skills. And most importantly, it empowers young people to make a positive difference and protect our planet. And we hope that they will continue to do this throughout their lifetimes. And now, as our programme is nearly 30 years old, this is something that we quite regularly see. On my teacher training sessions this year, I've been joined by several former Eco Committee members. And now that they've grown up, they've become educators themselves. And now they're recruiting new young Eco Committees that they will take the lead on. So we're seeing it work, and we're seeing this sort of lifelong passion for environmentalism ignited at a young age. And the next slide, please. Just to give you some statistics for this academic year. So far, more than 5,000 schools, colleges and nurseries in England have registered with our new Eco Schools portal, which was launched in October. And those schools have told us that there are at least 42,648 young people on eco committees in England. And these young people are being supported by 6,937 adults. And their achievements so far include the creation of 1,469 book hotels, the planting of 20,304 trees, and encouraging 36,798 young people to complete a litter pick across the country. And believe me, this is a really, really tiny snippet of their impacts taken from a small amount of questions on our school portal. Okay, and next slide, please. With our application window now open, so it opened on the 1st of May, each day I have the absolute pleasure of reading through schools' amazing green flag applications. And I've been allowed a few minutes away from this today to speak with you and share some of the thoughts that I've gathered during this process and the top tips I've seen so far this year. And my very first tip is to ensure that your environmental actions are manageable. I'm the sort of person that's quite impatient. I want to do everything at once, but unfortunately, that's not really possible. And it's especially not possible when you work in a school because you're really busy and there's so many pressures and so many things to do. But if you do try to do too much, in all likelihood, it will become quite difficult to succeed. Or even if you do struggle on and you do succeed, it's going to be difficult to maintain motivation and momentum. So I always advise teachers to choose achievable actions and projects to deliver and just do them really, really well. Because when they're done really well, they can become an embedded part of your school life. And once they're embedded, they provide really strong foundations to build on, and that will maximize your impacts in the future. So far this year, I've read so many applications that have mentioned how they would like to expand on their actions next year. And when I hear that, I just think that's incredibly positive, that they're already looking ahead, they're already thinking about what they're going to do next. And another thing worth mentioning is don't worry if any of your projects or actions or environmental plans, don't work out so well. Because when you do involve young people in environmental actions, even when a project isn't a success, it will definitely be a success in other ways. It will have raised awareness, educated, and prompted discussion. And one final thing on this point, always remember that your time is an incredibly legitimate barrier. You can't do everything, so make sure you're not putting too much pressure on yourself. My next piece of advice is, as much as possible, allow actions to be pupil-led. Because whilst the Eco Schools programme does aim to make a difference now, we also aim to ignite a passion for environmentalism in young people, teaching them skills that will enable them to continue making a difference in the future throughout their lifetimes. And to do this, we need to give them a voice and we need to empower them. And part of that is allowing them to make decisions. I will just say that doesn't mean you have to build a llama farm if that's one of their ideas, though. Within reason, follow their decisions. My next piece of advice is not to go it alone. Try to get other staff members to buy in. Your senior leadership teams, other teaching staff, support staff, canteen staff, site managers, etc. And this doesn't mean that they have to be at the heart of each of your eco committee meetings. But if you do engage with them, hopefully they will become more receptive to change in the future. Or if they're not receptive, you will at least begin a dialogue with them about the difficulties of change. And even that's a really important lesson to young eco-warriors. We have questions, especially on our environmental review, which is step 2, that ask your eco committee to approach different members of staff. And this is just to open that dialogue. My next piece of advice is about not confining eco schools actions to schools. During school closures, during the pandemic, we saw some wonderful ways that schools began adapting and expanding their eco schools work into pupils' homes. And this is something we really encourage. So if you are delivering an eco project in school, see if you can just supplement it with an at-home project. And these don't have to be really complicated. For example, if you've planned an energy-free day in school to raise awareness, why not ask parents to also participate and have an energy-free hour at home that night? Or if you're planning on introducing new plant-based options in the school canteen, you can do something like including a weekly plant-based recipe on your newsletter for pupils and families to try at home. And then it's a really communal experience that's just really fun. And expanding actions into homes is a great way to maximize your impacts. If you've ignited that passion in school, undoubtedly pupils will want to take this passion home and share it with their friends and family. My next piece of advice is to always celebrate your successes, no matter how big or small they are. For example, I visited a school in Crosby, Liverpool, next to a very famous beach, who organised a litter pick on a Saturday morning. They invited parents and pupils along to attend. And when I spoke to the eco committee and the eco coordinator, they sadly told me only 12 families attended when we organised it. But I was like, do you know what? That's absolutely fantastic. 12 families got out of bed on a rainy Saturday morning to litter pick, protecting wildlife and improving their community. And that is definitely something to celebrate. And my very last piece of advice is to always remember that what you are doing is going above and beyond your roles, and you're doing that because you care. And that's just something incredibly special. So always do remember that. And that's my presentation done. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much, Francis. And I 100% agree with you. I think 12 families getting out of bed on a rainy morning to go litter picking is an amazing success. So yes, that is definitely something that should be celebrated. Really, really wise words there. So brilliant to hear all that and to hear the advice from you in the eco schools and all the experience that you're seeing. You must see just brilliant things coming in all the time. Must be a really positive experience. So the first question for Francis is, can you please explain how eco schools works for schools that are in Wales, Scotland or Northern Ireland?
So the eco schools program is divided. Each nation delivers it separately. So I can't necessarily explain the full ins and outs of eco schools Wales and Scotland. What I do know is that every country follows the same 7-step framework. There might be slight variations in the order, but they all follow the same framework. And sort of the general advice at the end, I pretty much guarantee they'd agree with, but you'll have to contact Keep Scotland Beautiful in Scotland, and I think it's Keep Wales Tidy in Wales who run that programme.
Thank you, and we'll put those links below below the recording if you're watching this on the recording as well. So as another question in for you, how can schools make sure every child engages with sustainability action? So it's, how do you include all children, even the ones that maybe don't want to do it?
So I just think it's like, it just requires a little bit of thought. So when you're developing your action plan, just decide on your initial idea and then decide on how you're going to involve everyone in it. So it doesn't matter what the idea is. Say, for example, you decide to organise a litter pick, then get every class out over the course of a week to do a litter pick. Say you decide to grow some fruit and veg, get a variety of containers, even if they're tiny, that every class can get involved with growing. So just when you're planning your actions, think about it at that stage. Another example, if you want to save energy in school, appoint an energy monitor from each class and change that energy monitor each week. you know, make it a real rewarding experience. So I would just say when you're planning your actions, that's the time to think really carefully about that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's definitely about planning it in and thinking about that first rather than as a last resort. And Anna, have you got any advice about how you can include every child in the sustainability actions?
I believe everything really counts, and it comes from our families as well. It's very important that from the house we promote these kind of attitudes and values, the understanding that we belong to a society, that we are not alone here, that everything is connected, that everything has an impact. And I believe really trying to push our educators in schools to promote this as well from the parent side. We have a responsibility. Sometimes we forget and we leave the children and they are in charge. But I believe with our expertise, but also volunteering for activities and so on, and promoting like, hey, you are not part of Eco Schools. Why don't you look at this program? Or you are not part of Let's Go Zero. Why don't you join us a school and I can help you? Or these kind of initiatives are always, I think, the interest for us as parents to really promote in our young children. Everything starts really since we are very young. And I think probably all of us, we may have been in that in that terrain when we were young, because sometimes I think everybody speaks the language in this sense, but then I speak to other people that may not be in this area, and you realize they think completely different because they have been raised with different kind of approaches to nature and so on. So I believe engagement again since they are young, and teach them is not enough. Is really put them to have their little hands in action since they are very young. Essential.
Can I just say one more thing on that as well, if you don't mind? Sorry. What I would say is like it's really difficult to make your sort of school, you know, perfect overnight, like, and to make all the environmental changes you want. And likewise, it's really difficult to sort of get everyone involved at once and to sort of totally embed environmentalism. It's a process, right? So again, just don't be disheartened if everyone isn't keen straight away. You know, the more you celebrate your achievements and the more you plan fun projects, like you sort of set up a secondhand clothes store and sixth formers all merchandise it and create signs and it's really fun and they run it on a day, the more interest others are going to take, you know. But again, you just can't be perfect straight away all the time, I would say. So don't put too much pressure on yourself to get everyone involved straight away.
Yeah, I think that's very sound advice. So it's just take a bit at a time. You eat an elephant with one bite at a time, or something like that. So fantastic. Thank you so much to Francis, to Anna, and to John for joining us today and speaking so brilliantly. Our next webinar is on Tuesday, the 28th of June, and that one has a focus on travel. And then we're going to be starting again after the summer holidays with more webinars in September. I think we definitely have one about biodiversity that we're planning. But please do watch the other webinars on they're on our website, and you can share this and share Let's Go Zero with your other schools. So thank you very much, and goodbye from all of us.